We saw in the previous video that on the test set, our classifier had about a 92% accuracy. And so it's nice. Like, let me show you if I do this clf.predict, and then I plug in the length 14,000 test set. This is just giving me the predicted answer, like 7, 2, 8, and so on. But there's a little finer information that we can get if instead of doing predict, I do clf.predict proba for probability. And this thing that it gives me is a little more complicated. Let me call it probs. And let's check what the shape of probs is. So it's length 14,000, just like all the other things involving test, but instead of being just length 14,000 and no other dimensions, like this array is, this one is 14,000 by 10. And so what do those 10 look like? So for example, what does the topmost row look like? So these are a bunch of really small numbers, like this one is 9.66 times 10 to the negative 3. And if I look at probs0.argmax, this is going to tell me in which entry, in which position is this number biggest. Okay, 7. And does that look familiar to you? That's the same as this 7 here. If you get nervous about, like, well, does this correspond to the 0 class? Does this correspond to the 1 class? You can check clf.classes. And this will tell you what order the classes come in. And so here it's in the natural order, just 0, 1, 2, up to 9 for those 10 classes. And if I were to do probs0.sum, okay, well, this is basically the number 1. And where does that number 1 come from? Well, these are supposed to be probabilities for, like, the predicted probability that the answer is 0, that the digit is 0, the predicted probability that the digit is 1, and so on. And if you add all of those predicted probabilities up, you want it to add up to 1. And then which one had the biggest probability? It was the 7th one. And so that gets all summarized into just this single output of 7 when we do clf.predict. And so if I were to do probs.sum axis equals 1, that says, like, plug in one row at a time. See, I get all these different ones. If I were to do probs.argmax axis equals 1, that gives me 7, 2, 8. And if I come back up here, that's the exact same as this predict, where it gives me 7, 2, 8. Maybe the last thing I'll show is, remember that the 8 was incorrect. So if I go up to this y test, which has the true values, it was 723 instead of 728. So let's see how confident it was in that one, okay, which I'll call the second one to use the Python numbering. So if I do probs.to, and remember the true value was 3. So here's 0, here's 1, here's 2, here's 3. So you can see that it thought that our classifier thought there was almost no chance that it's a 3. It said it was 0.006. If I do probs23, get this 0.006. Whereas if I do probs8, okay, then I get 94%. So it was both very confident and very wrong about this one. If I come back up to one of these images that I showed from before, here, let's take one of these. And let's try to check this one where it was so wrong. And so here we have this x.iloc2. So it's a coincidence that it's 2, since 2 is also what I want to do here. but now I want to do X test instead of X. And that should all be good. And then we'll do x2.imshow b. Okay, and if I did it without making a mistake, okay, there we go. So when we look at this, we can maybe tell that that's a 3, but for our classifier that we trained using logistic regression in scikit-learn, the classifier was very confident that this thing was an 8. Okay, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching.